paid for my tuition. Paid for my tuition. Paid for my tuition.
Hello, welcome Derry to Refugee Talk.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
No worries at all. We have Derry today in Refugee Talk, someone who came from Kurdistan in 2017 to Canada. Derry, as always, how did you start your journey in Canada?
Thank you again, Milad, for this podcast. Thank you for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Marif. I came from Iraqi Kurdistan in 2017. I came through across the border, the U.S. border. I arrived in September 2017.
Awesome. And I forgot to say also that Derry is a journalist, a writer, an activist who stood up for refugees and immigrants since 2017. And himself had a refugee background. And let's hear how he crossed the border and why he is standing for refugees from different countries.
Thank you. It's a long story how I crossed the border, but I landed in Washington, D.C. for a conference, and then I came to Seattle to the border, and then just walked there a few minutes. From the not first day, but from the early months in my life in Canada, I felt how people see newcomers. Even the old people who came from different backgrounds have a lot of bad stories about newcomers, about the people came from their home countries, and there were a lot of stereotypes about newcomers. I also found that the mainstream media didn't cover everything about newcomers, so I decided to, as a refugee, to be one of those people who are voiceless, and I decided to be their voice. So I have been reading and participating in activities to support them.
Thank you so much, Derry, for sharing that. You crossed the border from United States, from Seattle to Canada. Can you also share how did you cross, and then how did that happen? How that moment happened in your life?
Yeah, before I decided to leave my home country, Kurdistan, I had a lot of goals and hopes to earn them in Kurdistan, but the political situation that region was really fraught with political uncertainty. There were a lot of political conflicts and violence after the ISIS arrived in the region, and there were also conflict between the political parties. I wrote about those events, but unfortunately, my views, my ideas were not accepted. With a group of journalists and activists stood against the former Iraqi Kurdistan president Masoud Barzani, who wanted to hold the referendum. We learned the time of referendum was not right, and however, we knew the referendum is the people decide, but the time was not right, and after that, we were threatened. We were called betrayer, liar, and some of my friends were arrested. Before that happened with me, I went to the U.S. and then I knew it was not easy crossing the border because I already learned about the U.S. police brutality, when they arrested someone in the border, they jail them and they return to their home countries. So I didn't want that happen, but fortunately that didn't happen. When I arrived in Canada, that was one of my best moments, and I never forget that because I arrived here. I already knew Canada was not paradise, but I knew it was a land can follow the hopes, can achieve everything whatever you work for. So I haven't achieved all my goals here yet, but I'm on the way. I work hard to get them, and I'm completely happy with what I do.
Thank you for sharing that, Derry. And I would also like to know that what are you writing about these days? I remember one of your stories was published in one of the books actually a couple of days ago. I saw you on a conference. Can you also tell us about that story? And if you want, you can share that story as well.
Yeah. I wanted to first answer the first part of your question. What I write about, I write about different things or sections. I write about the Kurdish issues in the Middle East for some international platforms and media, and I also write about for Canada, for Canadian people. I write about newcomer issues, immigrants and refugees. I write for Rebel, for New Canadian Media, and recently started working for CBC and some other
Awesome.
platforms, all about the issues, the problems, how they face difficulties. We'll talk about this later. On the other hand, I write about myself, my story, about my mother, my family, my Kurdish people. There are a lot of ordeals from Kurdistan about how they face difficulties from the last century, from exactly from 1921 when our land linked to Iraq and Kurdistan was separated between countries in the Middle East. And I write about those things because the majority of people in North America, particularly in Canada, don't know about the Kurdish people, and they only, not only, but the majority of them learn from mainstream media. The Canadian mainstream media, unfortunately, get things, information, ideas from the country's mainstream media, those occupied Kurdistan. So, and that's why I decided to explain those things. I have to recorrect the history of the Kurdish people in Canada. There are many people like me, and they also work for recorrect that history to show the reality of the Kurdish people in the Middle East. My stories, my personal stories about those stuff happening over there, and the story you mentioned about my battle scars. It's about one of my story. I have experienced many wars, many fights in the Middle East. Each war left a scar on my body, in my head, and somewhere else. And just I share the story how a war affects children, including myself. What happened with me, my family, my mother, when we escaped to Iran, and we were labeled as foreigners or whatever they told us over there. The story shared in the conference about this, and fortunately I got a reward when I published the story. Yeah, and it's also a part. It's that paragraphs I read there were part of my chapter book I wrote a few years ago, and published the book with several other brilliant newcomers.
That is so sad, upsetting when you see your country conquered by many other countries, neighbor countries. I came from a refugee background. I came from Afghanistan, and I know how it feels to be in that situation. When you see politics and politicians are taking over your land, you become voiceless.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you're the victim. You have no any other option apart from leaving the country. This wasn't our fault, Derry. We left our home, our loved ones.
Exactly. Just let me add some information and support your ideas. When I came here, I heard many times how people thought about the country, the Middle East, and people came over there, and they thought the majority of people were brutal, and the majority of people have no education background, and the minority of people in the Middle East even don't know how to eat, and they thought, and they were taught all the wars, all the violence, all the brutality happened because of the people. That's really is totally wrong, because the majority of people from the Middle East, from Kurdistan, from Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and other countries, are peaceful. They have goal. They are passionate about learning. They tried hard to achieve their goals, but the corrupted governments, the authoritarian people over there, don't allow people to be happy, to have their goals, to live as other people in the world. And the powerful countries, like superpower countries, particularly U.S. and its allies, unfortunately support the dictators. We knew what happened in Afghanistan from the last 15 years, 20 years. The U.S. supported some brutal, some corrupted leaders in Afghanistan, and the U.S. supported them. But what happened from the last 20 years, we saw it when the Taliban came and occupied the country. Unfortunately, that's the U.S. mistake, because they only support those people who are corrupted, and they follow the U.S. Orders. That's happening in Iraq and other countries. And I believe the wars in our land, the wars and the fights are not ours, but we became victims of the wars in our land.
Right. Going through that, the story that you shared in that conference about the scars, and after what happened after Saddam Hussein and a lot of people left the country, you said a beautiful story, short story there.
Thank you.
If you can mention that story a little bit about it, it would be so meaningful for everyone who are hearing that.
Oh, thank you. I have no story to read it, but I earlier mentioned a little bit about my scars. I even have one over here. I think I have around 10 scars in my head and over the parts of my head. And the first one I remember was I was a little child. We had no playground, and I had no toys, but I used to play with my friends on the somewhere where just it was part of a war, and we had cannons, and those remaining cannon and the other things remain left after Saddam Hussein. And I fall over one of the holes because of I think with the rocket. I don't know what happened over there, and I didn't know what happened with me. But later I found myself on my mother's lap. She cried, and she used fried egg to reduce the size of the scar. And also she tie with a rope to just a little bit heal the pain, the wound. And then the first one I remember. After that, she took me to a hospital. There were no enough medicine, because it was during the wars. And unfortunately there is still the place of the accident. And then 3-4 more times happening when we moved to Slimani City, because we live in the camp. Saddam Hussein made it in 1980. And before we moved there, my family lived somewhere close to Halabja. It's a town close to Iranian border. In 1988, Saddam Hussein and his regime used chemical weapons against the people, and as a result, around 5,000 people were killed. So after that, my family moved to Slimani City, where a boy threw cement of a block of cement. It was mixed with nail, and it hit in my head, and again I passed out over there. And again, they were not doctors, no medicine, because we live in a little bit far from the Slimani City Center. So my mother couldn't take me to the hospital. Again, she used some ashes and fried egg to heal the wound. And the last car was in Iran in 1991 when we fled again from Saddam Hussein threats, and a donkey kicked me there. And again, we had no right. I had no right to be treated in the hospital because I was called a foreigner. So, and all the scars remain with me, and I don't want to resurface the scars because all the scars symbolize my emotional scars, and I want to people know what happened over there, and particularly with me as a child.
They're going through all of this. I know it's hard. It's I think most of us have been through a lot of this, but overall, I'm so sorry that you have been through a lot of this.
I believe those things made me stronger, and that's why I try hard and I remember those things. That's why that was one of the reason is I now support other people.
Right. I was just wondering, do you think I'm pretty sure, and it's obvious that the majority of refugees that are coming from these countries, from Middle East, have been through a lot of this. And what are your advice for these refugees that they have been through a lot of this war, and then they finally come to Canada? What should they do to heal?
Yeah. I go some places to share my stories. I go to universities, libraries, the conference. I met you there, universities. I learned from the almost last 8 years. Many people complain about life here because before they came here, they thought Canada is paradise. Just go there, have good life, and everything over there. Actually, it's not true. Canada is neither hell nor paradise, but it's a place, it's a country with a lot of opportunities. If you try hard, I'm sure you get your goals, and it has a nice environment, nice weather, good people over there compared to other countries. But many people, when they came to Canada, they have to know, they have to work hard. It's not like their home countries. They have to work hard, not to give up, be patient, and don't listen to those who try give you like negative feedback. They ruin their life. No, if you believe yourself, I'm sure you will be the person who you want, and you will get the place you want. But it takes time. It's not a one day, not 1 month, not 1 year. It takes time, and you have to prepare for this, and go slow but steadily and strongly. I know, as I mentioned earlier on, there are a lot of stereotypes, bias about newcomers. They try to destroy you. It's when you come, they all look at you. Even people from your home country who came here 20 years ago, they told you they only show you the wrong side of Canada. Life is hard, yeah, but if you try hard, it's very simple. I'm sure you'll get there. And I know many people came here to have a high education, have a lot of skills. I'm sure they will use their certificates, their skills one day. It's not exactly the goal you put in your mind, maybe another goal, but you will be success, I'm sure. I have a lot of examples in this country who people, newcomers and refugees, achieve their goals and became very important people over here.
Right. Yes. And what are the resources there that they can use, especially refugees that are new from Kurdistan or Middle East?
You mean resources to
Resources to grow
Okay.
grow and educate themselves.
Yeah, I think first of all, everyone needs to learn English. If you learn English, you can make a wider network and have connection with people. You will be avoid from isolation, stay home, only talk with your people. Now there are a lot of opportunities. It's okay. Everyone has some connection with their communities, but there are a lot of opportunities to make friends, to like wide your connection with people. School, the places where people learn English is one of the places. Libraries, every library has a lot of activities. They can find people there. They can go to job fairs. They can go to money events, like money open events, particularly in summer. So in the summer there are a lot of activities. Different people, they welcome you. I believe there was these things make people like newcomers to build themselves, adopt the culture. I don't want to say, oh, take out your culture and bring no, just adopt the everything and to have yours and have something new here. So yeah, that's the way what I did in the past. I participate in. If I share my story a little bit about this, I participate in many book clubs, writers clubs. I went everywhere and share my stories everywhere, and that's why I'm here. I met you last time, and we are here. I will meet. I will meet another people, another person today, and make another activities. That's the way we make networking. We have communication until we find the place where we want to go.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. Networking really matters there.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, meeting new people in libraries, conferences, or open mics.
Even workplaces.
Workplaces, job fairs are good places to like make networking. And what is your advice for Kurdish people in your language? If you can say a few sentences in Kurdish language to the camera right there.
Yeah, sure.
And advise what they should do when they're new in Canada and what steps they should take.
Yeah, before I speak in Kurdish, just one thing I forgot to mention earlier. If someone applies for a job in different places a few times, they were rejected. That's not the way. They are not important. They cannot find job. Try again and again and again and again. I have sent my stories more than 15, 20, 30 times. They were not accepted, but I can find somewhere else. I pitched some articles to CBC like 10 times. They didn't answer me. I sent somewhere many times, but again, they finally accepted. Just try, as I say, man, don't give up. Just this place, another one. I'm sure if you try to get a job, if 10 places, 15 places rejected you, not because you have no qualities, but because they may have another something different.
Right.
And then you finally get there. And you want me to speak a few words in Kurdish?
Please, if you can do that. How many languages do you speak there?
I speak Kurdish, and there are two dialects, Kermanji and Sorani.
Okay.
I know a little bit Kermanji.
Okay.
It's not very well, but I study in my bachelor's degree in a city where people speak in Kermanji.
Okay.
I know I'm good at that, and I also know a little bit Persian, a little bit Hindi, like Hindi, Maluma, Torah. And I also know I'm good at Arabic, like understanding.
Okay.
Particularly for media, I'm good at that.
Mm-hmm.
I can also read well, because when I read Quran and other things, I have no problem for reading.
Right.
But yeah, only language influence is Kurdish.
There you go. Let's go,
Okay.
Kurdish.
Okay, you want me to say a few things?
Yes,
Or-
please.
okay.
The camera is right there.
ئەم کاتتان باش لای من بەیانی ئەڵم بەیانیتان باش هێشتا بەیانی نەبوو بە دوانزە خولەکی بۆ دوانزە من ناوم دیارە لە ڤانکوڤەرەژیم بە هیوام هەموو کەسێک کە گوێ لەم دەنگی منۆیە کاتێکی باشی هەبێت کاک میلات پێیوتم کە هەنێک قسە بە کوردی بکەم بۆی کەوانی کە تازە دێنە ئێرە وەکو پێشتر بە ئینگلیزیەکی شەقۆشەر وتم وەی کە هەتانەوێ بەدەستی بێن دڵنیان بەدەستیێنن بەڵام پێویستەکە زۆر باشی کار بکەن تەسلیمی ئەو واقعیانە من کە تیایدان بیر لەو شتە خراپانە مەکەنەوە کە بە مێشکی زۆر ئینسانی هەموو ئەو کەسانی کە دێنێرە دێت خۆ بەراورد مەکە بە ژیانی پێشی خۆت بەراورد مەکە بە کەسی تر لە هەمان کاتە تەنها بۆ ئاراستیا بڕۆ کە ئەتەوێت ئامانجەکان و بەدەستێنیت بڕوام وایە و ئیشەڵا بەدەستێنی و سوپاس بۆ ئێوە و سوپاس بۆ کاک میلاریش کە ڕێگەیان بۆ دوای 8 ساڵ لە میدیۆ قسەکەم بە کوردی کاتێکی خۆش. Thank you.
Wow. تشکر.
ممنونم. قربان
شما. What a beautiful language. I understood a little bit because we have most similar words in Dari and Farsi. The moment that you said khub, it means good.
Yes.
I understood.
Bash, we say bash.
Bash.
Khub,
bash. Yeah, good. I see it in this way that all Middle East, all these countries were once in the beginning, and then these politicians, these kings and kingdoms separated us into different parts. In the end, we're all family in this world.
Of course. It's been a while, I believe. I make friends. I love people, regardless religion, ethnics, colors, nations, language, whatever people have for themselves. But I respect people out of all those things.
Right.
And I believe we are like a family here.
Thank you so much. Dari, if you don't last advice or if you have anything else to share, it's all for you. And then if you want to share something that we missed to talk about your activities, you also said you're a writer, journalist, activist. What else are we missing from you?
I don't want to talk about myself anymore. I don't want to be selfish, so that's too much. But I will invite some Kurdish writers, activities to come to your studio.
Oh, thank you so much.
When I go somewhere, I'd like to other people go there and have their voice, networking.
Definitely.
I don't want to be jealous, but I'll definitely tell some people.
Networking. And also, can you also share in our podcast that where can they find your work? You have showed me in the different websites, your book, the book also, your story was published. Can you also talk about that also at the end?
Actually, I write for, in the past, I wrote for New Canadian Media, which I publish around 30-something stories over there. I also write for Rebel. It's one of my favorite Canadian media. I also write for Culturico. It's a magazine based in Italy. For some other medias. And I recently started working for CBC. I will write about Kurdish artists, Kurdish authors, Kurdish painters, everything about Kurdish people.
Right.
Even including Kurdish food, Kurdish culture. So, and I also wrote 3 book chapters. One of them for the one called Geographies of the Heart. It's one of the best book about, it has been written about newcomers. I also published a book chapter with a group of writers in the Middle East. It was published in the U.S. Story from the Middle East. My story's title was, I forget it. Yeah, my Rebel Feet. It was really one of the best stories, and I got a reward for that story. I also published a story with an organization called Culture Chat, where I wrote about my name. My name is Mata because people usually pronounce my name wrong. Some say diary, even someone say diarrhea. So, and that I wrote a story where I cannot change my name because
Right.
there is a lot of emotional and sad story behind my name. When after one of my uncles was killed by Saddam Hussein regime, my grandma named me Diary. Diary means gift in Kurdish, and then say, okay, you will be a gift for me after I lose my son.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long story about this. I don't want to straight you over there, but yeah, it's all about my. And I also have social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter,
LinkedIn, Twitter.
LinkedIn, Twitter, X. I don't know what they changed the name.
Yeah.
But my wife pushed me to have Instagram. I don't know if I have it.
Reach him and
Diary Marif.
Yeah, Diary Marif, and then even CBC. You said.
I'll be this one.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of stuff going on in your life.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, being here in Refugee Talk, and thank you for doing all the work for refugees. Thank you so much, and have a good one. Bye.